Good morning, everyone. This is another The Able Marketing Facebook Live, streaming live to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Able Marketing BC. And I'm here with Elaine Williams from Captivate the Crowd. Elaine and I met last year, and I'll give a plug to the World Referral Network's Mastery of 1000 event. And then we kept in touch, and then we couldn't meet because various life things happened. And then I attended some of Elaine's little workshops, and I found them very inspiring. I love her energy, I love her positivity, and I love her sort of care for others. And I love the way she tries to teach people how to become better speakers. So, Elaine, why don't you kick it off? And I'm going to share your little video as well in a bit about how and why you sold your mini. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to kick it off?
Okay, well, thank you, Ben, and thanks for having me, and thank you for your kind words. It's lovely to get to know you even better. And yes, I really love the woman who runs WRN, Sean. She's
Mm-hmm.
fabulous. And if somebody's looking for a cool networking thing, definitely reach out to Ben. He can give you all the info because I've met some really cool people from getting to speak for them. So
Yeah.
if you aren't familiar with work, I'm a comedian, a speaker, and my mission is to help save the world, help heal the world, one video, one story, one joke at a time. And I think in this high-paced, fast-paced, high-tech world we're living in, we're dying for connection. And that is one of my superpowers. I absolutely love connecting on deep, real levels. And I love showing other people how to get themselves out there more and be authentic and still credible, but approachable. And I love using humor because I think as entrepreneurs, we get so serious and we have to wear so many hats. And it's like, okay, lighten up, Ethel. And, I believe we teach what we seek to master, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit about me.
Great. So let's keep going because I want to share this video. I'm actually, I should be able to share it through when we stream. The one you posted the other day, which is a little short, and I liked it because I was doing research on you and it's something current. And you talked in this video about how and why you. oh, Okay, here it is. I'm gonna pull it up. But you talked about a quick story, and you talked about selling your mini after you moved from New York to the Dallas Fort Worth area. But the the video and the message about the mini had a deeper meaning. So perhaps you can give us a little bit more of more info on that, or sort of share why you posted that video.
Sure. So, one of the things I teach and preach is telling stories, right? So if you just come at somebody going, buy my stuff, I'm a great coach, I can
Yep.
help you. It's like people want to run screaming from the building, right? But if you can say,
Yep.
hey, let me tell you about my client who's kicking butt and she's having fun and this is happening and this is happening, you can tell a story. We love stories and that's what draws people in. And I love to make fun of myself. I think of myself, yes, I've been performing my whole life, and
Yep.
sure, I've got some awards and credits and all that stuff. And I like to share my process because I think it helps people. And, like I still get nervous before gigs sometimes, depending on the thing. So I wanted to share how, so I still have my house. I've been on the East Coast since 2000, and I purchased a house in New Jersey in 2004, and that's a whole other one woman show.
Right.
The lessons I've learned, right? But a couple years ago, my sister said, "Can you please move back to Texas? Our parents really need more help, and I'm drowned." And I said, "Can I come live with you? I don't want to sell my house. I love my East Coast life. I still have many, many things I want to do on the East Coast." So I've been in this whole like New Jersey, Texas thing, and I didn't realize how involved it was going to be. So anyway, so I kept my car up in New Jersey. It was a Mini Cooper. I loved it. I had so much fun. It was a blast to drive. And it was, it's like ever since I hit 90,000 with it, it was needing more and more work. So I was in this
Of
whole
course.
like, should I bring it down? Should I sell it up there? I've never sold a car myself. And my brother is a genius, car genius, uh, curator mechanic. He works on like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and
Wow.
builds all kinds of cool things. And he was like, you got to be careful because somebody can give you like a fake check. He started telling me all these horror stories. So I was scared to like sell my car by myself. So I was
Right.
just kind of in this whole like purgatory of like, I don't know what to do. I work from home. I don't really need a car, but I So
Right.
finally but I was like, you need a car in Dallas, Elaine. So finally in May, I drove it back. I drove it
Wow.
back from New Jersey, and then
That's a long
it
drive.
was in the shop, like,
Yeah.
all the time. My friends were
Right.
like, "You ever have it out of the shop?" And so finally, after, like, just sort of debating, I was like, "Okay, I'm trading this in. I'm done. It's time to let it go." And so I finally made the decision. I got the funding from USAA, and I knew the place I wanted to go, and I committed the time, and I finally went and made a decision, and I got this Volkswagen Jetta 2023 with only 27K miles on it. So I'm delighted, but I wanted to share because this is what happens in life, and this is what happens with our business, right? We go, oh yeah, I really need to work on my speaking. Oh, well, I got to do sales. I got to do all these other things. I need a TED talk. Like, sometimes we get pulled in all these ways, or we go, yeah, 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 I'm going to work on my being on more camera, but first I'm going to do blah 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 blah, right? And so when you finally make a decision and commit, it can be so freeing, right?
Hmm.
And I cannot believe how much energy and like relief I felt from letting go of that car and getting one that's more dependable and is not, a 2013. And so I was just, comparing that to as business owners when we're like, oh, I need to do that. And then we wait or we procrastinate or we're not clear. And so I just thought, you know what, that's a great analogy. When you finally make a decision and then you commit to it and you actually take the action, and it's funny, Ben, because if you know me, I'm a very action-oriented person. I am
Yep.
act, 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 and sometimes it's too much. I'm like, Elaine, focus, bring it back in, slow down and sit for a minute,
Right.
meditate, and
Yeah.
so I was just
Oh, right.
kind of laughing at myself that it took me 2 years, and I thought, but you know what? That's what we do as humans. It's so human. And so and I thought it's just a great comparison to wanting to get better on camera, which
Hmm.
also translates into every other area of your life. And so I just thought it'd be a funny story to sort of poke fun at myself a little bit, but also it's just so human. So that was my theory. And it just honestly, one of the reasons I love teaching is I get a lot of ideas for my students, but then I was like, "Oh, I just had that idea," and I was, like, running out the door. So I just made that super quick, and, but that's one reason I love short form. It's not Oscar worthy, but I thought it had a good point.
And I think with marketing these days, and literally with anything, and maybe it's because of the pandemic, that kind of short form, informal content is likely to attract you more um, interest in your business and captivate the crowd in the speaking work that you do because it's honest and it's real, and that's what people want to see on social media these days. And I've worked for marketing companies. I have training in marketing, and we're always talking so much about how we're trying to orchestrate these big campaigns and what's the end goal of these big campaigns, and all this money and all this strategy and all this time is to get people to buy your product, right? But there's ways to do it, and I think that's what I find fascinating about marketing when I've done research. Like, the psychology of trying to get people to buy your product is quite an interesting and complex thing. But when you're doing stuff like what you're doing, at least to me, it speaks to me because it's very simple. And I don't mean simple in a bad way. It's just very direct. Like, you're like me, like you're very direct in the communication, right? Like, you make it pretty clear. Like, this is what I'm going through. This is how it relates to my business. This is the kind of work I do for people. So I want your thoughts on that, right? Like, that's part of you as a personal brand, I would say.
I love that, Ben, and I always say imperfectly perfect, right? Because I
Hmm.
think so many times we get wrapped up in like, oh, is this on brand or I really need to think
I know
about my
I do.
messaging. And we do. And sometimes, I'll look at past videos and I'm like, ooh, that was not my best effort. But I always preach like be consistent. And I'll share with you. So one of my current clients is this cozy murder mystery writer, Kirsten Weiss. And she came, it was recommended from an editor that I had worked with. And she came and she's like introvert. She likes to write,
Hmm.
and it's been so exciting because she's super coachable. And so I'm always like, let's get you making videos. And I've been training her. Like she had a
Hmm.
bobcat. She lives in Colorado. She had a
Wow,
bobcat
that's cool.
take over her porch in her backyard. She was pregnant. And you don't want to mess with a pregnant mama, right? A
Yeah.
pregnant bobcat. And she was like, I can't go in my backyard. And I said, make a video about it. And she was like, but what? And I'm like, because you're pulling back the curtain, because people have one idea of what an author is, that you're in a cabin by the woods and your life is all quiet. And it's like every person I know who writes, it's like, no, you steal moments in your
Yeah.
busy loud life, right? Maybe
Yeah.
some people get up at 5, some people, whatever. Anyway, so I got her thinking about like share more of like your daily life and what it's like to be an author. Of course, talk about your books, of course, talk about different things, but she's making all these fun videos and it's all under the umbrella. And now she started teaching classes about her books, and people are signing up like crazy to come to her classes. And she says,
That's
Elaine,
awesome.
it's all because of the videos. Now, are all the videos perfect? No. Some of them get tons of views, some of them not so much, but she's being consistent and she's sharing her life, her work, her art. And to me, that's so exciting because we want to interact with people who we know, like, and trust. And that does not mean, I think sometimes people feel like they have to be so polished and so
Hmm.
credible, but it's not
Yeah.
approachable. And it's not always,
Well, it looks
I don't connect
staged
with
in the
that.
age of social
Yeah,
media. It looks staged, and I think people understand that about marketing. I think probably for people like you and myself, the kind of work that we've done in the past, like you've done comedy, you've done performing, you have captivate the crowd. You see that, but a lot of people, when they look at marketing, probably don't see that,
right.
right? And so they kind of have that expectation. I know I have it for myself when I put out content like this, or I do content writing, and I can't have any mistakes, and I'm a total perfectionist, and I can't make a mistake. And like the way I want to run these Facebook lives, I research and I send you questions and I do all this because that's what I've been trained to do, right? And then it's like, well,
Right.
sometimes you just need to, like if you show people that it's real and that it's authentic and you can have a real conversation, you'd be surprised the kind of insights and the kind of things that come out of something like that.
Yeah, and I just feel like, life is messy, and I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? So I always wanted to be perfect on stage, but if you think about great theater, the best characters are flawed, and that's why we love them, right?
Oh, I can think of a lot of flawed characters that I like.
Right, and
Right.
or we love to seeing the perfect person become undone, right? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
not that we're making Oscar worthy things, but yeah, I'm just all about, like, if you want someone who's perfectly polished, I'm not your girl. Like, I'm more interested in coming from a real place, and that's what I do my best to teach my clients. Because yeah, you want to have your stuff together, and yes, if you're doing a signature talk or you're getting paid $10,000 to go deliver a talk to Microsoft, of course you need it to be buttoned up and polished and all the things. And at the same time, they still want a human. They don't want a Stepford wife. They don't want somebody who's perfectly coiffed and polished.
Yeah, and I was just actually looking back at something you sent me. I'll drop it in the chat, and we can talk a little bit more about this. But that's coming up today,
All right.
January 30, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Western. And I know you sent me some great feedback that if I join, I'll keep myself on mute so I don't wreck your perfectly clean recordings talking about perfectionism, leaving my microphone on, and then I'm talking to my wife in the background. But anyway,
It's all
I,
good.
I,
We all
yeah, I
make
know, but I
our
felt bad
mistakes.
about that feedback because of my own perfectionism, and I know how I want clean recordings, and I was like, oh, geez. Anyway, so tell me a little bit. about what's happening today, because it's expand your reach with engaging videos that wow class. Thursday, today, obviously you got the different time zones in there. What's happening in that masterclass?
Well, I love to just break down short form video and explain, it's 58 seconds or less. And I also want to uh, ups, uplift and inspire people because, you're in Canada. I don't know if I wrote an email and I mentioned
Yeah, I
you.
saw that. You mentioned me. You mentioned me. I was like, hey, I'm famous.
I said Canada's going to build a wall to keep the rest of us out, but
No, we won't.
there's a lot
No.
of turmoil and stuff that's
Yes, there
happening
is a
in the
lot of turmoil.
news, on social media, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of like what's happening with TikTok and you know and
and
here's one of my
yeah,
favorite things in the whole world is like grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the
know the
difference. And
difference.
that's the wisdom. Woo. But we can't control the platforms, but we can control our output and what
Yeah,
we're putting out into the world.
yeah,
And so I want to encourage people to keep doing content and keep working on their storytelling and their camera confidence and their presence, even though we don't know what's happening. Facebook, TikTok, all the things.
yeah,
Here's
yeah,
what I do know, right? And I know you know this. Video is here to stay and it is the future of podcasting. A
yeah,
lot of podcast people are a little upset they got into it because they didn't want to be on camera. And video podcasting, I mean, that is where everything is headed. And
yeah,
my whole thing is like, especially if you have it in your heart to share your message, or you've been doing podcasting and now you're like, it's okay. Video can feel daunting. And so I try to really help demystify some of the fears that people have and teach them very basic things. Because how do you get better at something? You keep doing it. You keep doing it.
yeah.
Another one of my clients, she's adorable, Ben. She was we were roommates at Podfest. She's
Right.
75 and she is so inspiring to me. She's in phenomenal shape. She didn't get married till her 50s. And she
Wow.
interviews people all over. She has a 2%, her podcast is in the top 2% globally, which is
Whoa,
huge.
that's
And
awesome.
she's embraced video.
Hmm.
So it's like wherever you are, you can get better. And she was already good, but she has
Hmm.
gotten so much better because she's been doing it now for 2 years. And
Right.
there's something about, I call it like settling in.
Hmm.
When I first started doing stand-up comedy, people said, "Oh, it's gonna take 10 years." I was like, "10 years? I could be dead in 10 years." But there's something about, like, mastery, right? Like, 10
Right.
years, and there's a mastery to it, and there's, like, a seasoning, and you can just tell, like, when a seasoned actor walks on stage, you sense it versus somebody who's new. Same, you
Yeah.
can tell it sometimes like that's going to be a good comic who needs to keep doing it for 5, 7 more years. And
Right.
so it's just so exciting for me to see Anne really blossom and grow. And she was already great. And now she's just like super pro with her introductions, with her interviews. She's just gotten more comfortable. So that's part of my message to people. And even if you can't make it today, if you go to the link and you sign up, you will get the recordings
Okay.
because I want everybody has a message, Ben. Don't you think like
Hmm.
it's our
Hmm.
human need to feel seen, heard, and gotten. And
Yeah.
so many people have
Yeah.
the experience of not being understood, are not being heard or seen. Maybe you come from a crazy family. Maybe you were married to someone who was crazy. Maybe you're the crazy one. Who knows? But I just feel like it's such a human need to tell your story, to share it, to hopefully help somebody else. So that's my philosophy, and I'm going to be talking all about that and more today. So
Hmm.
thanks for asking me about it.
Yeah, no problem. I was trying to do some research and find some stuff that we could talk about because like I said to you before, and I know I got busy and forgot to send them. I have these generic questions that I always use, and I've developed them. But then I realized with those generic questions, I was like, that's not always the best way to do it because I try to do research on stuff that you're doing currently so that I can, then have talking points. And then I've been to some of your workshops, but then I was like, sometimes it's better to have some of the current stuff you have
Sure.
posted, and I'm on your email list, right? And so I'm going to share links to how people can track you down, Facebook, X, Instagram, some of your channel details, so people can check that out, because that kind of stuff's really important too. And I should say, I know I told you last week when we just had a call, I did a YouTube workshop with two ladies, and I'm going to send that to you, that YouTube workshop.
Oh,
Not what I
cool.
did, not what I did with them, but what they taught me about how to use YouTube, and how their names are, it's Orit and Jewel. And I took their little, I took one of their 1 hour consult with them, and they taught me so much about how to use video and how to use YouTube, and basically how to use the search functions of YouTube and how to use it to your advantage. And how to, like, the way I used to title my talks was I would put Able Marketing, Facebook Live, et cetera, this date. Now I title it first by, she's like, or it was like, use the, like, the person's name and what they do, and using search, that if people are going to search for Elaine Williams, they're going to search by certain terms, and they're going to search by certain titles. And so
Okay.
I just found that whole YouTube thing. I paid for that workshop, and it gave me so much about basically how to use YouTube and how to use a YouTube channel and search, um, to grow your business.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I will definitely check them out. And I actually sent another thing. So I don't know if you follow Scott Galloway. He is
Yeah,
like this brilliant guy. He's had all these. He says I've had some successful businesses, one that was like and lots of flops. And
yeah,
he's very real, and he teaches at NYU, and I really love his stuff. And he was asking somebody like, what's the hottest platform? And his guy was like, YouTube. If you think about it, it is the number 2 search engine, right?
yeah,
Like everybody goes
yeah,
to Google. Well, who owns Google, or Google owns YouTube? And so
yeah.
many
They do
people I
now.
know, I'm
Yeah,
in my 50s, but so many people 30s and 20s have literally they've taught themselves amazing things on YouTube. I know so
yeah,
many people who've started businesses from stuff they learned on YouTube. Now,
yeah,
I don't seem to have, sometimes I try to do those like house fix things from YouTube. I don't always have that luck, but YouTube is, I think it's underutilized, especially by marketers and coaches and speakers. And so it's really exciting to think about this platform where people can go and learn so many useful things or go get inspired. And so, if especially in the face of like what's happening with TikTok and Facebook, I'm like, go play on YouTube, because there is a whole world and it keeps growing and expanding. And so yeah, I can't wait. I will definitely check them out.
so let's wrap it up here, and thank you for doing this. So what kind of action do you want people to take as a result of this call, in terms of reaching out to you?
Wow, thank you. What a great question. So I would invite you to go to Captivate the Crowd
Okay.
and download the video script. It is my freebie, and it is a great place to start. It is very simple, and it will give you some super easy prompts.
Okay.
Everybody says, I hate the way I look. And then the second thing they say is, I don't know what to say.
Right.
And
I
so
hate the way I look
I,
at it. Oh God.
so I can talk to you about lighting, angle, wear good color, no crazy patterns, all that stuff. But if you have a sense of what you want to say and you're not so scared, that's a great place to get started. And of course, follow me and come to class, even if you can't make it. But I would say go to Captivate the Crowd and grab that video script, because it's just a great place to start. And it's super simple and super formulaic for a reason. And then once you get used to that, you can add on to it. And even if you never post these, it's a great place to start making videos and practice. And I
Okay.
just want to say, Ben, thank you for having me.
No
And
problem.
I want you to know that, like, anybody who's listening, your story matters, and somebody needs to hear it. You never know. I'm in AA and I go to meetings all the time, and I always hear something I needed to hear. And I can't tell you how many things have saved my life. And you never know how your story could save somebody else's life. So your job is to get out there and share your story because it
Yep.
matters and it does make a difference. So that's what I want to leave people with, Ben.
Thanks, Elaine. We're going to wrap it up there. We'll talk to everyone soon. Take
Okay,
care.
thanks so much.
Bye bye.